Me, Valkyrie, Valkyrie 1, 6'2", 125 kilograms, superhero robot. So as you can see in the head, we've got cameras, both LiDAR, point cloud based camera systems. In the chest, we've got cameras. We have sonar in the chest, in the stomach, abdominal area. We have cameras on our forearms for when we're grasping, so we can get a good view from there. Moving on down, we have cameras in the knees. We've got cameras in the feet. Pretty much, when our operators are running the robot, any data, any piece of data, any image that they would want to see from what the robot's seeing is available to our users. NASA's goals as an agency, we want to get to Mars. Likely NASA will send robots ahead of the astronauts to the planet. These robots will start preparing the way for the human explorers. And when the humans arrive, the robots and the humans will work together in conjunction, building HABs, laying foundation, and just working together in that tight relationship.
Drumbeat of terror we've been witnessing struck in the former French colony of Mali in West Africa today, and the U.S. State Department has just confirmed an American is among the dead. At least 20 people were killed after gunmen burst into a Radisson Blu hotel.
Just a week after Paris, another terrorist attack in Mali targeting the capital's most luxurious hotel. An al-Qaeda-linked group, not ISIS, claiming responsibility. Malian SWAT teams cautiously approached the hotel. Inside, at least 2 gunmen, armed with grenades and assault rifles, holding some 170 hostages, including about a dozen Americans. The terrorists released those who could prove they're Muslim by reciting passages from the Quran. A body under a blanket shows what they did to those who couldn't.
After the White House knew the militant Islamic group targeted Christians, they released the following statement, quote, "The United States condemns in the strongest terms today's terrorist attack on the many Malian and international guests and employees of the Radisson Blu Hotel in Bamako. We can confirm that the attack has ended, and we continue to coordinate with U.S. officials on the ground to verify the location of all American citizens in Mali. We extend our deep condolences to the families and loved ones of those who have been killed in this heinous attack. Our thoughts and prayers also are with those who have been injured. We commend the bravery of the Malian, French, United Nations, and U.S. security personnel who responded to the situation and prevented even worse loss of life. The United States stands with the people of Mali and will remain a steadfast partner to the government of Mali and others in the region fighting the terrorist groups that seek to undermine Mali's efforts to build a durable peace following the crisis in 2012 and 2013. We are prepared to assist the Malian government in the coming days as it investigates this tragic terrorist attack." As you heard, there was no mention from the White House that the Islamic fundamentalists in Mali targeted Christians, although it is widely reported they did. Those who are dead are Christians.
Well, Jeff and Dawn, we haven't seen anything like this in nearly 20 years. In fact, this year's El Nino may turn out to be the strongest ever. This is what Chicago normally looks like in the winter. Feet of snow and cold. In fact, last February was the coldest on record. Absolutely brutal. But things are shaping up to be dramatically different this year.
At this point, the El Nino is pretty much a lock. We're already at near record levels as far as how strong the El Nino is now.
So here's what El Nino is all about. It's a band of very warm ocean water moving east across the Pacific. This El Nino just recorded the highest water temperature of any El Nino ever. And just to put that into perspective, the energy contained in just the top 6 feet of water could power the entire United States for a year. Put all that energy in the atmosphere, what do you get? Ferocious storms that caused this massive flooding and widespread damage in California during the 1997-98 El Nino. While no 2 El Ninos are exactly the same, you can see how this El Nino stacks up to the one in 97-98.
Wow. You know, Bill, it's interesting because for the last 2 years, we've come to know, you know, the polar vortex.
Yeah.
And all of that cold air, and what I saw there in your piece about how it usually those northern states are dry and warm.
Right, and you know, El Nino is already having an effect on the southern tier of the United States. We've had tornadoes in Southern California, even a couple in Arizona, and that's really typically, as Gino Izzi, the senior meteorologist, said, it peaks in November and December. Look at the last couple of weeks with the southern tier of the U.S. getting raked with tornadoes.
Five times in the past, something has happened on the planet that's killed off a very large portion of the life forms and has taken a million years to reestablish. Fortunately, the last one was 65 million years ago when the dinosaurs bit the dust with a lot of other things. We are now moving into another one of these events that could easily ruin the lives of everybody on the planet because we're utterly dependent on the other organisms for our food, for our climate, for all sorts of things that we must have. The so-called natural services that other organisms provide. There's all kinds of evidence of this, not just in the loss of species, but in the loss of populations that give us those services. For instance, we are not likely to lose the honeybee as a species, but we're already losing it in lots of places where it's very important, say, for pollinating your almond orchards. There is a denier set of people who say, no, the biologists are crazy, they're exaggerating, we're not, you know, species aren't disappearing all over the place, we're not entering a sixth mass extinction. People at Berkeley studied the best fossil record for doing this, that is the mammal fossil record, and took a look at, on average, how fast were mammals going extinct when there wasn't a mass extinction episode. Extinction goes on all the time, but what makes one a mass extinction episode? And it turns out that they found that the going on all the time rate was about 2 times as fast as had previously been thought. But when you look at a conservative estimate of how fast mammals are going extinct today, it runs somewhere between, say, 15 and 100 times as fast as the new fast rate from the past. What our paper is basically the icing on the cake. It shows without any significant doubt that we are now entering the 6th great mass extinction event.
Colistin is the drug that is being used as a last resort when other treatments for common infections have failed. So it's very worrying that there is resistance. But what is particularly worrying about this is the mechanism of this resistance means that it can spread very easily between species. So global spread is likely. And indeed, this paper suggests that this is already spread out of China and into Malaysia.
So does that mean that you regard this study as, I mean, obviously there have been many warnings about the dangers of overuse of antibiotics, but do you regard this study as the major wake-up call or the proof of what has already been feared?
I think it's yet another illustration of what we've been worried about and what we've been working towards over the last few years. But it really does show how urgent the situation is and how we do need now global action if we are not, as you say, to approach a post-antibiotic era where common infections will be untreatable. Certainly some people will have untreatable infections and will start to die. We're already seeing, like gonorrhea, a sexually transmitted infection, 7% of cases in Toronto are untreatable. This is happening in countries across the world. So it's not just this strain, but others that illustrate we just have to take action now.
I don't know how serious this is, but a leaking universe into ours sounds pretty serious.
Well, as long as there are no spills we have to wipe up, we'll probably be okay. What they're talking about here, actually, Contessa, is that if we look back at the very early history of the universe, there's a lot of mysterious stuff that's going on back there that we have to try to figure out. so we can have a really good understanding of exactly what happened as the universe got underway, how the first galaxies were born, how the first stars were born, and how that all now manifests itself out into what we have. So, as we look at the cosmic microwave background, and all that really means is we're just looking at the energy that's left over from the beginning explosion that started the universe. As we look at that, we find that there is a component in that that we don't quite understand. And one of the thoughts of how a universe like ours comes into existence is that it not only can create the universe we're in, but it can create adjacent universes next door to us. And it's thought by this particular theorist that maybe one of those galaxies, or one of those universes rather, is impinging on ours, and that's what's making up this mysterious energy or mysterious material that we see back in the early universe as he's seeing it.